Xcel explains where its profit comes from. We explain why we're looking at that one energy company more than others. A gun lobbyist tells legislators that the statistics of children killed by guns isn't that bad if you don't count the black kids. A plan to let farmers fix their own equipment is moving ahead without Republican support.
When you need to be planting, you need to be planting.
And Colorado's Girl Scouts have changed financial advisors. The new guidance they're getting is, shall we say, a lot more up to date. And the state of our union is strong. You're here, we're here, and it's time for Next. If a Coloradan in Congress wants to make a statement during tonight's State of the Union, there are two ways to do it. Loudly heckle the president like Republican Lauren Boebert did last year, or send a subtler message with their choice of guest. Democrat Jason Crow's bringing Richard Fierro tonight. He's the Army veteran who disarmed the Club Q shooter who killed Fierro's daughter's boyfriend, among others. Democrat Joe Neguse is bringing Ellen Mahoney, whose husband Kevin was killed in the Boulder King super shooting. She's pleaded for good faith negotiations over gun reforms. Democratic Senator Michael Bennett tried to pass a farm worker protection bill last year, bringing a fifth-generation rancher as his guest. Colorado's first Latina representative, Democrat Yadira Caraveo, is bringing a Latino small business owner. And Republican Lauren Boebert tells Colorado Public Radio she'll bring the president of Colorado Mesa University to spotlight higher ed in rural Colorado. Legislative Democrats supporting gun control noted at a hearing at the Capitol this week that the CDC now says that gun violence is the leading cause of death for American children. A lobbyist for Colorado's most prominent gun rights group told them that guns are the leading cause of death for American children only if you include the black children killed. Listen for yourself.
If you remove black males in that age group from that, it is not true. And that is a symptom of a different issue. The issue that is causing young black males to be killed in their homes, on their streets, is a very different issue.
Kevin LaRusso from Rocky Mountain Gun Owners stood by that statement when I talked to him on the phone today. He described black children being killed as quote-unquote gangland violence and said that it is a separate issue from gun deaths among children of other races. LaRusso said that if anyone is offended, they can come talk to him. The Republican gun rights bills he was testifying for did not make it out of committee. There's a Starbucks in Denver getting a slap on the wrist from federal labor regulators for trying to stop unionization of workers. It's the Starbucks location at East Colfax in Milwaukee. It joined the nationwide union push last year and eventually became the first Denver Starbucks to unionize. Employees there told an administrative law judge in August that store management had threatened them, interrogated potential union supporters, even fired an employee who was part of the organizing. The judge ruled this week that Starbucks has to stop union busting and reinstate that fired employee. There are more cases involving Colorado locations that are going before the National Labor Relations Board later this year. Republicans' single largest complaint about the governor's State of the State address was that he did not talk enough about agriculture. So it's interesting that farmers came to the state capitol this week with a pretty straightforward request. When their tractors or combines break, they want to be able to fix the equipment themselves rather than be forced to deal with mechanics who work with manufacturers. The so-called right to repair bill passed out of committee without a single Republican vote. Our Steve Steger looks at why.
To me, when you buy it, it should be yours, but it seems to me like they want us just to be renting it from them.
Danny Wood really got that feeling after he bought a new tractor for his Logan County farm a few years ago. He paid a technician $23,000 to install a guidance system on it, another $8,500 to make it work with his fertilizer. 2 days later, he had to call a technician again to re-enter a 5-digit code.
Which he could have given us over the phone, but he said, no, we can't do that. We have to come do it. I had to pay him $950 to put that code back in there.
$950 to put in a 5-digit code.
So the right to repair will give people the ability to get the parts, the manuals, and the specialized tools a lot of times to be able to fix their own things.
Democratic State Representative Brianna Titone is sponsoring a bill that would force dealers and mechanics to allow farmers access to parts and information so that they could do this work themselves.
You heard in the testimony that there are people getting devices and code breakers and hacks from China and Russia to try to do these fixes on their tractors right now.
Her bill, which is co-sponsored by a Republican, failed to get any Republican votes in committee on Monday.
I'm concerned that consumer rights activism in the agricultural space could be damaging to the many dealers and the many service departments that those dealerships have.
Republican Representative Richard Holtorf says the real solution is incentivizing more people to become farm technicians, not this.
It just infringes on what I would call proprietary and technological property rights.
Upsetting his constituent.
He's from our area. He's from rural. I really thought he would see the value of it.
While Danny waits to see what happens at the Capitol, he's figured out at least one solution to save him $950 the next time he needs that 5-digit code.
But we wrote the code down now. It won't happen again.
Got him. This bill is now headed to the full House. It follows a bill last year that required power wheelchair manufacturers to give the same kind of information to their customers as part of a movement nationwide to try to empower people with everyday items to be able to fix them, like fix your microwave or fix things at home.
He looked over the dude's shoulder and he wrote down the code.
It's like, I got it.
So if it happens again, I love it. That's fantastic. But I mean, if you think about it, like, okay, I have a vacuum manufacturer I will not name publicly on the air. That they won't let you try and fix anything, and they've got those screws on it where if you open it, it's like they can tell you've tampered with it and it voids the warranty. So you always have to take it to their dealer every time.
And you know, Danny says, like, I wouldn't do anything if it was still under warranty, right? Like, I wouldn't want, you know, the warranty's there to protect you. But if something's out of warranty, like, why not? And he points to the fact that you can go to any auto parts store and grab a thing that'll read the code in your car and tell you what's wrong, and then figure out if you need to take it to a dealership or a technician to fix it.
He promises he's not trying to juice his combine and take it racing.
He says he is not. He says that is not what any of the farmers wanted to do, although that was one of the big arguments from all the companies at that hearing yesterday.
People are going to race their combines. All right, Steve, thank you. Xcel does not make a profit on the natural gas you use at home. The company higher-ups keep repeating that as people get angry about high bills. They say the cost of fuel is passed on dollar for dollar. All right, so some smart Next viewers have said Xcel made what, $1.7 billion last year? Where do they make their profit? Our Marshall Zellinger's been asking Xcel for a while and just got some answers.
I don't begrudge a company making profits because that's what they're in business for.
Xcel customers like Tom from Tinmouth reached out to us wanting to know where Xcel makes its profits.
From preparing the infrastructure to delivering the gas to buying the product, there is nothing coming out of their pocket as far as doing business. It seems to be all profit.
Xcel provided a response that we will put in full on 9news.com. Here's some of it. Xcel invests in the power plants, solar and wind facilities, transmission and distribution lines, as well as natural gas pipelines that support our customers' daily energy needs. We profit on this invested capital at a rate that is much lower than the average returns in other industries. What does that mean exactly?
They're only allowed to get profits on things they build.
Ian Lang is traveling, but he's an expert in this. He runs the Mineral and Energy Economics program at the Colorado School of Mines.
So they'll spend something like $10 million to build a solar facility. The Public Utility Commission allows them to earn a rate of return above that $10 million.
Xcel explains that its Colorado rate of return for investors last year was 8.23%, which was the lowest return last year from all of the 8 states it services. But they are guaranteed a rate of return. When the Public Utilities Commission approves gas and electric rates, it approves them with extra for profit.
So then they really want to build stuff. They would really like to be building. They're going to say, hey, we need to build all these things.
Because that's where they make their profit.
Right. And they're less excited about things that don't require building.
We took some pretty extreme measures.
Tom got a $221 bill in December and changed how he heats his home.
If we're sitting in our living room reading a book or doing something, we'll turn on an electric heater, which at this point is cheaper than running the gas.
His January bill, $221.32. He's got an idea to get Xcel more invested in the price of customers' bills.
If they had some kind of a regulation, like a Tabor-style regulation, that would cap the amount of profit and then return the excess back to the consumers that they were charging.
We have heard from so many viewers. I honestly cannot keep up with answering all the questions, but I'm trying. Some of those questions have included, hey, what about us non-Xcel customers? First of all, Xcel has 1.5 million gas and electric customers. They cover most of the state, and that is why they have been the focus. They are in mainly the populated metro areas. They're shaded in red on that map. Atmos Energy has 120,000 customers spread throughout the state. Greeley, Salida, Gunnison down to Steamboat Springs, Durango, and Craig. You can see the yellow areas of that map. Black Hills Energy has more, 319,000 customers in areas like Castle Rock, Pueblo, and Aspen. I will eventually be able to start comparing the different energy companies, but there's just so much feedback on the 1.5 million people who have Xcel. That's where the focus is right now.
So you're saying if the executives at those other companies are sitting back and lighting cigars and laughing that Marshall Zelinger hasn't come knocking on their door yet, just wait.
Atmos Energy has filed a gas rate increase as of last week. That would be the freshest thing we could look at. What are they asking for? What are they seeking from their ratepayers? Perhaps lawyer fees and other things that we've talked about with Xcel. We'll get to it.
And it's very fair for people to ask, why are you spending so much time talking about this? And I'll be honest, there isn't anything that we have received this many questions, this many comments, this many concerns about in a really long time around here.
I've never been on a story this long, and today is day 10 in a row of an Xcel story. I've never been on a story this long where either I haven't been burned out or viewers are like, move on already. Yeah. I get it. We're getting new stuff every day.
Well, it's complex stuff, too. It's not simple stuff because it deals with a lot of really heavy government regulation on an industry that a lot of people are not very familiar with. And at the end of the day, everybody pays, so everybody wants to know. So, day 11 for Marshall. Buckle up.
Another try to expand CPR training in Colorado schools. Different approach this time. And Girl Scouts get guidance on what to do with that cookie money. Replaces the old financial advice that was out of date by a couple generations. Next.
State legislators are pushing again for Colorado's high schools to include potentially life-saving training in the case of cardiac events. There was a similar effort that failed a decade ago, but obviously, we know why it's so in focus now. The state Senate has passed a bipartisan bill to require the state's health education curriculum to train students to perform CPR and how to use an AED in case of sudden cardiac arrest. School districts who don't participate in the state health education program, they'd have the option to add the curriculum. A similar bill failed in 2012, partly because it didn't give schools the choice to require CPR training or not. This latest effort, of course, comes as America knows well what happened to Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin. His life was saved, and quite publicly, right there on the field during Monday Night Football when he collapsed and went into cardiac arrest. This latest proposal does not include specific funding for schools to implement the training, but the bill's sponsors say that schools can apply for aid through the state's pre-existing health education grant program. Colorado scientists say that the fish populations in the South Platte are doing really well. And now the National Association of Clean Water Agencies has noticed what went on, specifically with the Metro Water Recovery Board. They're a group that's traditionally focused on wastewater treatment. They primarily deal as well with the South Platte, which is an outlet for treated household wastewater. They say that a wastewater treatment plant upgrade in 2015 really lowered the ammonia concentration in the water. Metro Water Recovery, though, has been doing various things since like the late 90s to improve aquatic life and habitat along the South Platte, creating a foraging and spawning area for native fish and adding boulder clusters to provide protective cover. They say they've seen drastic improvements in the South Platte's fish population since that time. Are you ready for a real big debate in the race for Denver mayor? First televised debate in the race is just more than a week away on 9 News. Next Thursday, February 16th, candidates for Denver mayor will debate live on KTVD and 9 News Plus from 7 until 9 p.m. 2 hours of debate deliciousness. This will be held in conjunction with Metro State University, Claro, and the Denver Elections Fair Election Fund. The 13 candidates participating in that matching taxpayer funding have been invited to participate, and they're required to as part of working with this new Fair Elections Fund that voters approved. This is the first of 3 Denver mayoral debates will air on 9 News.
Beautiful, quiet afternoon. Now sun is setting, 30 degrees outside. It feels closer to 24 out there with winds coming in from the southeast at around 6 miles per hour. Now, not a whole lot is happening on our HD Doppler radar over Colorado, but that's going to change as we go into the day tomorrow. We'll start the day with sunny skies, those temperatures making it into the lower 50s, so it's going to be a nice warmer day out there, slightly above our average highs for this time of year. But then once the sun starts to set, we'll see those winds pick up, and then we'll see some late night to overnight overnight snow. Now, we're not expecting a whole lot of snow across most of the state, less than half an inch expected across the Front Range, but we do have a couple of areas that will be under winter weather advisories. That's going to be Elkhead and Park Mountains from 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon until 5 a.m. Thursday for 48 inches of snow. Those winds gusting around 45 miles per hour, so you'll want to watch for blowing snow and hazardous travel there. Now, a different story as you make your way into the eastern plains, mostly central and southern portions of the plains, where for around that same time period, once the winds pick up and the snow moves in, we will have high wind watches in effect. This is going to be late Wednesday through Thursday afternoon, those winds gusting 65 miles per hour. So in the meantime, we're clear and calm, those lows near 22 degrees, and we will see those temperatures go up and down quite a bit. We're in the 50s tomorrow. We cool down Thursday, those highs maxing out in the 30s, but then we rebound pretty quickly going into the weekend.
For too long, the money advice given to Girl Scouts was tailored to their grandmother's era. Not anymore.
The entire experience really revolves around those financial literacy skills.
Finally, useful advice for young women making bank off cookies. Next.
Feedback tonight on a Rocky Mountain gun owners lobbyist telling state legislators that guns are only the leading cause of death among children if you count black male children. And if you take black males out, then it's no longer the leading cause of death. LJ writes, not sure what kind of conversation I could have with someone who says that if gun violence affects my children, that it shouldn't count towards gun violence deaths overall. Gun violence is gun violence, no matter how it happens. Ed writes in to say, love your great coverage on the rising costs from Xcel. Said it reminds Ed of an anonymous quote. I had never heard this before. This is good. Due to rising energy costs, the light at the end of the tunnel will be turned off. And quite the description of our Marshall Zellinger and his dogged reporting from Daryl, who writes, Marshall Zellinger is like a pit bull, keeping his teeth firmly in Xcel's... I can't say that, Daryl. See you next time.